video is going to be all about the Huda Beauty Overachiever concealers. Now I did actually try these out for the first time yesterday, and I did try and film first impressions, but I don't know, I must have been off with the fairies because it wasn't very good. So today I'm sitting down, I'm just refilming it, going to give you a little bit more in-depth information and like my full review and first impressions on it, but I will be including some clips from what I filmed yesterday because I did swatch them all and I don't really want to swatch them all again. So yeah, if you see me in different makeup and different clothes, it's because it was from yesterday. But yeah, without further ado, let's get stuck into this video because I'm so excited to share about these concealers with you. I'm just going to quickly like prime my face and everything before I get to chatting about the product, just so it can all sink into my skin while I'm talking about it. So I'm just going to use some FX Plus Pink Light just to spritz my face quickly before I go in with my primer and foundation. And I will also be using the Moisturizing Makeup Base by Huda Beauty today as well. I'm honestly just so excited that the concealer is finally here. I think like over 6 months ago in a video I said something like I really hope she brings out more complexion products, like I'd love to see a concealer from her, and here you have it. It's so exciting. So this is meant to be a super full coverage concealer. It comes in 20 different shades, as you guys can see there. I feel like the shade range is pretty inclusive. When I swatched them, they all definitely have different undertones and different depths in their shades. When it comes to darker colors, I obviously am like 50 shades of white, so I really have like no personal experience enough to be able to comment on the darker shade range, but it looks to be fairly inclusive for everyone. So I feel like there's the same amount of light, medium, and dark tones amongst everyone. Like there's not just like one really dark concealer shade, if that makes sense. And also the lightest shade, the whipped cream, is like millie white. Like it's so fair. So this concealer is packed with 31% pure pigment, so it's got a really high amount of pigmentation, which is what makes it so full coverage. And then it's also got skincare ingredients in it, so which are designed to like help soothe and protect the skin, not just conceal your under eye circles. So that's really cool. So the packaging of these concealers is actually so different to most concealers on the market. So let's compare like a typical concealer such as the Tarte Shape Tape. Majority of them have doe foot applicators, which I actually love a good old doe foot applicator. They're great. The only problem is hygiene wise, they're not the greatest. And then same for like makeup artists and stuff as well. They're not the most practical, especially if like you're someone who suffers with acne, like you really don't want to be putting a doe foot applicator on your face then back in the bottle because you can contaminate your concealer, the actual product inside. So the actual Overachiever concealers are in a little squeezy tube, which I wasn't too sure if I was going to like, to be honest. When I saw it was a squeezy tube, I was sort of like, oh, really? Really? I wasn't keen on it. But then when I tried it for the first time yesterday, I understand why Huda went this route. So this tip, let me see if I can pronounce what it's called. Luxurious Zamac Tip. Zamac, I think that's how you say it. So as you guys can see, it's a metal tip. Now when I first applied this on my skin, it is so cooling on your under eyes. It's really refreshing, and also it's very easy to clean. So if you do get product on it, you can just wipe it off. You can disinfect it as well really easily, just with like a little wipe. So I really do like it. At first I wasn't sure I was going to, but I actually do. So I'm very pleasantly surprised about that. Now in each concealer bottle you get 10 ml. So there's 10 ml in this concealer bottle. In Tarte Shape Tape there is 10 ml as well. So it's about an average size concealer. So 10 ml, same as Tarte Shape Tape. So that's a good amount of product. Now it is on Sephora Australia's website already, and it retails for 44 Australian dollars. Let me just have a look on Huda's site, and it is $30 US on Huda's site. And when I was in America, it was already in Sephora stores. They had the whole selection in Vegas and in LA. Oh, she also launched, along with the concealer shades, she launched I'm getting so excited I can't speak. What's new? I can just never speak anyway, even if I'm not excited. But she launched a concealer brush as well as a beauty sponge. I used the beauty sponge yesterday. It is so good. It feels very similar in material to my Sigma 3D HD blender. Actually, it feels identical. Like it feels like it's the exact same material, and those of you who watch me often or like have subscribed to me for ages, you know the Sigma 3D HD blenders are my ride or die. They're the best sponges I've ever used, and the fact this is the same material just makes this sponge incredible. It has a flat side on one side. Sorry, it's dirty. Like I said, I used it yesterday, but it has a flat side and then it's got a round side. It's got a really nice defined tip and a nice round bottom, and when you soak it in water, nice round bottom. Interesting choice of words, Hannah. But when you soak it in water, it does get really big. It like triples in size, so it's huge once it's wet. And then the actual brush, I do have the brush here. I don't personally use concealer brushes for my under eye concealer, just because I prefer sponges. I like the little bit of hydration that it gives the under eye area, especially with a full coverage concealer. However, this brush does have like the little tapered concealer point on the end. So if you're someone who likes to do your eye makeup first and then conceal, then this brush might be a really good idea for you, because the sponge does make it quite hard to get in really precisely around like your eye makeup if you already have it on. If you have no eyeshadow on, like for me personally, I like to do my base before I ever do my eye makeup, then a sponge is easy because you just literally go to town on your face. So anywho, I think I've covered majority of what I need to cover. I didn't cover nearly half of that yesterday. I don't know what was going on with me, but that's once again the shades. I will insert the little swatches I did on the side of my face so you guys can see them. When I was swatching, I felt like Coconut Flakes was actually nearly a perfect match to my actual skin tone. Like when I did the swatches, you could barely even see it on my skin. It blended in with my skin tone so well. So that's going to be the shade I used today for my under eyes. And that's also because I'm fake tanned too. If I was not fake tan, I would probably use Marshmallow or Meringue, I think. So when I swatched them, the darkest row here, these first three shades, Honeycomb, Hazelnut, and Maple Syrup, looked like the same shade on my face in the video. But when I swatched them, I could definitely see the different undertones, and they are like very slightly deeper as they go up. So when you see the swatches, you might notice that too. They kind of look like the same color, but they have sort of different undertones. Like one's more golden, one's more browny, and one's more reddy. I don't know if that's how you would describe it correctly, but that's how my brain thinks of it. So anywho, and then next up I'll get into actually putting my foundation on and concealing. So I am going to be using my Huda Beauty Faux Filter foundation today in the shade Custard 220N. I was using 240, which was a tiny bit too dark for me. This is definitely my perfect fake tan shade. So I'm glad I finally took the plunge and got it. So there it is. So I'm going to pop that on, and I'm going to use a round Sigma F80 brush to apply it. I do have a discount code with Sigma if you're wanting to buy some brushes too. You can just use Hannah at checkout for 10% off all year round. So here is my skin when I've got absolutely no makeup on, no foundation whatsoever, so you guys can see what I'm working with pigmentation wise. Now the Huda Beauty Faux Filter foundation does cover like 99.9% of my pigmentation. However, I don't personally bring my foundation up under my eyes. I know you can definitely with this one. I've seen Huda do it before her concealer launch. She used this as a concealer as well, and it looked beautiful. I've just personally never tried it. I just prefer concealers because I find that like the consistency is usually more forgiving for your under eyes. So I've just turned 29. I just turned 29 on the 2nd of October. So fellow Libras, what up? Happy birthday to all my Libras. But yeah, so my skin overall is pretty great. Like my facial skin is like fine. I've got like really no wrinkles other than just under my eyes. And when I wear like smoky eyeshadow, typically where the eyeshadow blends down, it covers the wrinkles. But when I've got no eyeshadow, you guys will notice some little fine lines just right along my lower lash line, which I mean, I'm not mad about. Like I'm nearly 30, like you're gonna have some fine lines. Like that's just the beauty of aging, you know? You get those life experience lines on your face. You know what I mean? So anyway, this is my face. I'll turn my light down a little bit so you guys can see without the ring light. I have very dark under eye circles, like really dark. It's a combination of genetics and not eating right and not drinking enough water. So because I'm so fair naturally, I am going to have darker under eye circles anyway, just because my skin is like nearly transparent. Well, everyone's is on their under eyes because it's so thin there. But when you're really fair as well, you just really see the blood vessels through the skin. So, okay, so that's my face with foundation on. I just realized before when I was obviously touching that concealer on my face, I actually put a few dots of concealer. But yeah, other than that, you guys can pretty much see what I'm working with. So my face is looking a lot more flawless now because I got that foundation on. But we're going to conceal next and get rid of these under eye circles, which I'm so excited about. So yesterday I found I really needed very little concealer, and like it was super great coverage with just the tiniest amount. So I'll show you guys with just a small amount, and then I'll probably go in a second time and just build up coverage because I do have such a full coverage foundation on. So I will typically go a little bit more heavy-handed with concealer if my foundation is quite heavy. If I have like a lighter foundation, then I'll go lighter with my concealer, if that makes sense. So as you guys can see here, you've got the little tube. If you just give it a little squeeze. Ooh. So that's just the product, how it comes out. Oh, that's a lot actually. That's not a little bit, that's a lot. That's a lot of concealer. You guys don't need that much. The applicator is just like super soothing around your eyes. Honestly, it feels so good. But now I'm just going to take my Huda Beauty sponge and I'm just going to bounce the concealer all in over my face. I found it blended really nicely over the top of the foundation too, because this foundation dries down quite matte, and even though it's totally dried down, the concealer blends into it really nicely. And there you have it. My face is like all concealed, like I'm like a blank canvas again. If you have super dark under eye circles like me and you find you need just a little bit extra coverage, then you just need like the tiniest little bit and just pop it directly on the darkest point on your under eyes. And then what I usually do is I'll let it just like sort of sit there and dry down a tiny bit before I blend, and I find it will just give me that little bit extra coverage that I need on my poor dark under eye circles. So there you have it, guys. That's my under eye circles. Let me just turn down my light so you guys can see. That's them all concealed. I haven't set yet, so I'm going to go in and use just my MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in the shade Light, which is what I always use to set my under eyes, and my F35 tapered brush. This will add a little bit extra coverage because it is technically a foundation powder, just so you guys know, but it'll just help keep the light and the brightness under your eyes, because that's how it makes you look more awake, is when your under eyes are slightly highlighted. Even if it's only like 1 or 2 shades lighter than your foundation, it's going to make you look way more awake. So there you have it, guys. That is the shade Coconut Flakes 10N under my eyes, and I have that paired with 220N Custard foundation. So as you guys can see, it's full coverage. Like, there ain't no dark circles poking through this bad boy. This is definitely, I think I would have to say, between this, the Tarte Shape Tape, and the Born This Way Super Coverage Concealer, they would be my three, they would be my 3 top recommendations for full coverage concealer. So if you guys are all about that full coverage life, get amongst these, try them out. These are all so beautiful. Okay guys, I am back. I'm feeling very glamorous, very put together, very flawless, very on fleek, if I do say so myself. But I cannot fault this concealer, guys. Honestly, I thought I was going to hate the applicator. It's total opposite. I freaking love it. It is so good. It is very cooling to the touch when you pop it on your face. It just feels good, easy to clean, much more hygienic than a doe foot applicator. So I actually really rate the packaging of this, which I didn't think I was going to, which is, I'm just so happy about. To be honest, like, I'm that much of a Huda stan that if a product was shit, I don't think I could handle it, and I would be so upset and I would tell you. So please know that although I am a stan, I would tell you guys if something wasn't good, but this is freaking amazing. Like I said, it's comparable to the Super Coverage Concealer from Too Faced and Tarte Shape Tape. It is up there in coverage. It's very comfortable on the skin. I feel like it wore really well yesterday. I've only had it on for a couple hours today, but yesterday I wore it all day and it just looked flawless. It didn't oxidize, it didn't change color, it didn't break up, it just stayed place all day, and it just stayed in place all day, and it just looked fab. Can't fault it. I feel like this might be like one of my new Holy Grail concealers. I've been like frothing over the Super Coverage Concealer by Too Faced, which is freaking bomb as well. Like, it's amazing. But this I might like it a little bit more. And I actually like both of them more than Shape Tape. Shape Tape is great and full coverage, but it's a little bit drying. I don't feel like I get that sensation from either of these. I feel like this is a little bit more powdery of a finish than the the Too Faced one is a little bit more of a powdery finish than Huda's one, but they're both like really great coverage, and out of all 3 of them, I think Huda's might actually have the best coverage. I'm just gonna say it. I think it might have the best coverage. It's freaking amazing. So one last little up close look. I'll turn down my light so you guys can see. That is my under eyes. They look amazing. I'm just looking in the mirror. Like, what dark circles? Where? Like, you guys saw what I started off with. Like, I started off looking tragic and now like I'm just looking on fleek. Like, what can I say? Other than my red eyes, but I can't help that. That's an eye disease, so we're just gonna ignore that part. But yeah, I'm just so happy with that concealer. It's honestly, it's amazing. It highlights like your other features perfectly too. So if you want to use it to highlight your chin or your forehead or your nose, you can pop it anywhere and it's gonna look great. But under the eyes, it is exceptional. So I would definitely recommend it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and you loved seeing the swatches and my little review of it. I just really wanted to do a dedicated review for anyone who is curious about trying it out. So if you found it helpful, please give me a big old thumbs up because it really helps me out. Leave me some comments below what you think. Subscribe if you guys haven't already. And a massive thank you to those of you who watched to the very end. You know the dealio, you're my MVPs, which means you're the most valuable players. And I love you to pieces, so thank you so very much. And I'll be talking to you all really soon. Bye.